Well, hello again, everybody. Back again doing another video, and I mentioned this in I think it was the third or something video that I did. That in case people are wondering, like, oh man, he's wearing the same clothes. Does he wear the same clothes every day? No, I'm not a stinky bum. I do have a shower and change my clothes and so on. It's just that I do videos all at the same time. To get them all out of the way and all that sort of stuff. So like I said, this is all new to me. So welcome, my name is Leith Jewis. This is 2i Seeing, where you see things through a black lens and a white lens, or see it through your lens and hopefully see it through the lens of someone else. And we're predominantly talking about the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and what it means for us. And we talk about our protocols, our practices, our customs, etc. This is episode number, I'm just double checking here. This is episode 11, and it's going to be on my favorite topic at the moment. That seems to be getting a lot of traction in the community, and we'll be talking about welcome to country and acknowledgement to country and what that means, and so on, because there's a lot of misinformation out there and misunderstanding about exactly what those protocols are. So the welcome to country. Now, the welcome to country, there was a story running around that it all began with Ernie Dingo. Now, however many years ago. Now, Ernie Dingo and his family and community, when it all happened, may have been the first to, I guess, promote or whatever happened with the welcome to country. So everyone started to understand that this is the process and this is what happens and this is what they do. But he didn't invent it, he didn't create it. It was just at that moment, in that situation, it was recorded, and they did the welcome to country and welcoming whoever it was that was visiting their country at the time. So the welcome to country is a practice, cultural practice that has existed for generations and generations and generations. Now, despite the ignorance, we all weren't just one tribe. We all just weren't one people. We all had our own families, communities, clans, language, cultural practices, etc. But we all shared the same history when it comes to colonisation. So we also had our boundaries. I mentioned this earlier in one of my first videos, where we all had our boundaries, where we knew which was basically the land that we were responsible for and were allowed to visit, and so on. And those boundaries were made up, we could tell, by the rivers, the trees, the plants, the mountains, the rock formations of where our boundaries were. Now, when we go into other areas or cross, or we need to cross someone else's land, we knew that we were crossing someone else's land. And so we wouldn't get into trouble, or we wouldn't start warfare or start fighting, or even get some sort of curse on and karma from being and disrespecting or being on someone else's land. There was a process that we had, and that is that we made noise, we sang songs, we did whatever we could to let that local mob know that we were on their land or that we were crossing their property. Now, the other clans, and because it may be in a different dialect, and there was all ways of communicating with hand gestures and drawings in the sand and so on to say who we were and where we were from, we were seeking permission to give us safe travel across that land if we had to, for whatever reason, cross that part of their land at the time. And so that clan would then either tell us to leave, or they would accept us and they would do a welcome. Now, that is to protect us. That was to protect us as not being part of their tribe or their clan. So they would do a welcome. They would welcome us onto their land to bless us with safe travel, tell the ancestors that we're just visiting, we're just crossing the land, not to harm us, not to do anything. We would trade. we would barter with each other, we would trade and share gifts and food or whatever it was, as a thank you, as a token of our appreciation for letting us cross and giving us that blessing to cross the land. So that's what the welcome to country is about. Fast forward, the welcome to country is done in a similar way, that we're not saying to people, we're not being patronising and saying you're finally welcome to this country or to this land or wherever you were. We're simply practicing our protocols in giving you an opportunity to be welcome and to be safe, to enjoy yourselves, to enjoy what's around you, whether that be in a traditional setting when you're going to traditional Aboriginal land, or whether you're at the football or wherever you are, that, welcome, enjoy yourself. And we're telling our ancestors, because it's a spiritual connection there, and there's a cultural connection there. We're protecting you in some ways of saying to our ancestors, look, these people, they live here, they're visiting here, they're enjoying themselves. Please watch over them. Give them, don't let any harm come upon them. But it's interpreted as, who do these Aboriginal people think are welcoming us into our own country or into our own land or wherever it is that they interpret that the welcome to the country is? But that's not the case. Is that we are following our protocols and we are following our ways of welcoming people, and that we enjoy having you there. We enjoy associating with the community. We enjoy watching the footy. We enjoy whatever it may be and wherever it may be. And some people say, oh, what's the place of, we've seen recently, over the years, or what's the place of welcome to country at the, at Anzac Day commemorative events and so on, is that it's the same thing, exactly what I spoke about. And also the fact that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have served in the military, and we're going to get to that in a future video coming up. So the welcome to country is not there as a derogatory thing, a patronising thing, or us, thinking that we're better than anyone else, and that we're doing it as a cultural protocol and a nice way of saying, you know what, come, all of you come here, come visit wherever we are, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, wherever, Darwin, wherever, come visit. Don't be afraid of the local people here, as in the broader population of Melbourneites or whatever. Come, you're welcome. But it's been interpreted as something different, and then people believe that narrative and they want it changed. No, it has no place. It shouldn't be, people booing when, old Uncle Uncle Ray Minicon did the welcome to the country at the Anzac Day dawn service in Sydney. And he wasn't being patronising or derogatory. He was, as a veteran himself, he was just saying, look, welcome to this special event. Welcome. We're all welcome here. We all live under the same stars. And the welcome to the country, people get it wrong. I've been asked over the years in governments and other things, oh, can you do a welcome to country? I said, no, I can do an acknowledgement to country. If you can't get a local person, a local elder or someone from the local, that proper from here, I can do an acknowledgement country, because a welcome to country can only be done by someone who is from there. We didn't know that. So yeah, we'll look into it. So first, go and find out if there's some local mob that are from here, that identify as being from this clan and this people and this group, and get an elder or whoever it is that they may nominate to come and do a welcome to country, because that's not my place. I can't welcome you into somewhere that's not, my place. That'd be like someone coming to me and said, oh, Leith, I know it's not your house, but it's in the same street. Would you be able to jump the fence and let us in? The neighbours aren't home, but can you let us? I'm like, well, no, that's not my house. You ring them, or you wait till they get home. Just because I'm their neighbour, it doesn't mean I have the right to jump the fence and go and welcome you into another man's house. Same thing. So you know, the welcome to country is done for a reason and a purpose. Now, the acknowledgement to country is something that's different. That's exactly what I said, that if for whatever reason someone couldn't, a local person or traditional owner from that area couldn't, a traditional custodian from that area couldn't do it, then they might ask someone, and you can do, and I implore people that make sure you don't do it as a welcome to country if you're not from there, that it's an acknowledgement to country. So you simply acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians, you acknowledge the traditional people from that area, and you acknowledge the Aboriginal people that are there. And that's all it is an acknowledgement, is that I mean, we see it every day now. In the government agency I work with, is that we not only, the leadership not only does the acknowledgement to country, but they also acknowledge the veterans, because that's the government agency I work in, it's in the military space. And so they acknowledge the veterans and their service, they say thank you for your service. It's no different. So that's what the acknowledgement is. It's different from the welcome. Now, there's also an argument about the financial gain that Aboriginal people get. Should they be, what's the fancy word, remunerated for their services? Why are we paying this amount of money, X amount of dollars, for them to stand up there and say a few words and welcome us to our own country? It's a rort, they're ripping people off and we're handing out all this money. Now, like I said in the beginning, traditionally is that there were gifts exchanged, there was bartering done as a way of saying thank you and so on. You go to a cafe and you order a meal. What you're paying for is the service. You're paying for the efforts that person made to make that sandwich and provide you that drink and feed you. And so you pay them. That's the world we live in, that there's an agreement, there's an action, there's a trade, and then there is some sort of reward, if you like, or bartering or whatever it is, or gift or whatever it is, for that person doing all that stuff. So it's no different to that. It's no different to receiving a service from someone else. And so this person is giving you they're sharing their cultural knowledge with you. They're taking time out of their day away from their families and everything else. So they should be paid for their services. Now, I'm not going to argue about what that amount is. That's not my place. And why people are requesting this amount or that amount, and other people are being paid this amount or that amount. That's not what this discussion is about. This discussion is that, yes, people should be remunerated, if that's the right fancy word for it, for their service, because they are providing something to you. You pay to go into the football because you are paying and contributing to the efforts of the players, and you're paying for the services being provided, as in the facilities, the stadium, the seats, the whatever it is. And so you do it when you go into the football. So why isn't it that Aboriginal and Torres Strait people can't be paid for providing a service, a cultural service, and simply because they're Indigenous or they're black, or there's a perception that Aboriginal get everything for free, and we don't. Trust me. So the welcome to country has always existed in our communities. You drive to any city in around Australia and in Queensland, you drive into a town and there's a big giant sign, a big fancy beautiful sign that says, welcome to wherever, welcome to Brisbane, welcome to Townsville, welcome to Bundaberg, welcome to whatever. And that sign is the welcome. They'll welcome you to visit. You cross the border, welcome to New South Wales, welcome to Queensland, welcome to Victoria. That sign is welcoming you into that state or territory. And yet people get up in arms about us having the opportunity and to actually welcome you. And so, there's a majority of people in Australia that think it's a negative thing. They don't want it. They don't understand it. They don't understand why. they're missing the issue. The bigger picture here is that they see it through one lens. They're not seeing two-eye seeing and seeing it through, a black lens. They're only seeing it through their lens. They don't think that, okay, well, when you go in to have your own homes, you don't just let people walk in your door. People are invited, people, you organise a barbecue, you organise a visit, they're welcome. And people that you don't know that come to your door, they don't come in. You'll stand there at the door and talk to them. You won't welcome into your house because they've never been invited, they've never been asked. And so why are you going to let them just walk in the door if they're total strangers? So you'll stand at the door and talk to them through the screen door or open door and be all staunch. Say, yeah, how you going, mate? Like, can I help you? And you'll protect your home. It's no different to Aboriginal people. We're just simply opening that door and trusting that you're going to do the right thing when you're at that event, and trust that you're going to do the right thing when you're on that land. And it's simple as that. There's no hidden agenda here. We're not trying to convert people to a certain religion or a certain code or a certain belief. We're just giving you an opportunity to experience something. So that's what the Welcome to Countries are about. It's so controversial at the moment because media will spin it one way. They'll have a narrative. Certain people in government, state, federal, whatever, will spin whatever they spin. And so we shouldn't buy into it. We can't buy into it. Aboriginal people, we're a humble people. If we were people say, they just want to take over and they get everything, rah, 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 rah. If we were what they say we were, if we were the violent extremists and whatever and trying to convert people, trust me, we wouldn't be the one. We would be the ones that would be strapping on bombs and doing whatever. But we're not. We're a peaceful people. We've had to cop it for generations. We suffer in silence because that's not in our nature. I mentioned in one of my first videos is that we pride ourselves on being really fierce warriors all over Australia, all of our clans and up in the Torres Straits and so on. But the one thing we couldn't compete with was a musket. We couldn't compete with the weaponry. So there was obviously, colonisation, and there was an invasion. And so despite all of that, we still say, welcome. Yes, you're not going to go away. You're here. This is your world. This is your life now. You've got generations that have been raised here. But we were also here. And we're just saying, welcome. Have a good time. Asking our ancestors and your ancestors to watch over you and protect you. That you do have an enjoyable time and all that sort of stuff. And that there's, you have fun while you're doing whatever it is and wherever you are. So don't buy into the rhetoric, the narrative, because it's only trying to divide people. It's only trying to isolate people, to make one group think differently about another group. And it's wrong. So we don't need to be afraid of the Welcome to Country or Acknowledgement to Country. We don't need to be afraid that people are being remunerated for their efforts and for sharing their IP, their intellectual property, that they're sharing personal story to you. They're vulnerable out there. You're at a football game doing a Welcome to Country, and there might be you and a handful of relatives there, and the small population of Aboriginal people that might be in the audience or in the crowd. But then you got 20 or 30,000 people that are looking at you, that could be against you. And that takes a lot of courage. That takes a lot of resilience. That takes a lot for our people to stand up and swallow our pride and not stand at that microphone and saying, yeah, I'm not doing a Welcome to Country today. I'm telling you all, to get out, and have a big speech about, all the things that have been done to our people. But instead, we swallow that and we are humbled and we still welcome you, and we're welcoming people. And these people personally have never done any of that stuff to us. It's the ancestors. It may not even be their ancestors. It's other people have done it. But we still humble ourselves in saying we're still going to do the right thing no matter what. no matter how they treated us, we're still going to do the right thing. And the welcome to country is part of that process. The acknowledgement to country is part of that process. So I hope this short video and this short insight will get you to do more research, look into the history of it, talk to Aboriginal people about it, have discussions about it. And if you hear negativity from your family and friends at a barbecue or whatever, be our ally and take the courage to stand up and do what's right. And say, no, that's actually not what it's all about. We're interpreting it wrong, and it's been spun a certain way by media and whoever, and we cannot buy into it. It's dividing our nation. It's to the point that you have people that they base their whole political belief, their whole lived, their whole life journey on these divisive things, that really are there to unite people and bring people together, not divide people. So please don't buy into rhetoric. Respect, the welcome to country. Respect the acknowledgement to country, and have a better understanding about it. We often have in our, over the years where agencies I've worked for, where they do the acknowledgement to country, and then they acknowledge all the blackfellas there. We also like to acknowledge all the Aboriginal Torres Islander people that are here today and the staff and so on. And as great as that is, and as kind as that is, it's also, in some cases, because we are the minority, where I've been in a situation where me and there's maybe one or two others, Aboriginal people in that meeting, and you got 50, 60, 70, 80 staff that are at that staff meeting, and they'll do acknowledgement, and then they acknowledge you individually as Aboriginal Torres Strait people, and you often see people that turn at you and they look at you and they nod, and you sort of nod back, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I've told people this, that do this stuff. I said, well, and they said, how do you feel? I said, well, it actually makes me feel uncomfortable. And I give them the reasons why. And it's like the example I use is, well, that's like me going into Kmart or Big W, and when I walk in, all of a sudden, bang, the balloons go, crackers go, confetti flies, streamers fly, and then there's an announcement of, we have a Murray, we have an Aboriginal man and Torres Strait Islander man here at Kmart today. Welcome, woo! It's embarrassing sometimes because the spotlight is put on you and you haven't asked for it. It's just done. And so, we need to take that into consideration when we do these things. I don't do things because it's tokenistic. And yes, your heart's in the right place and you might want to do the right thing, but sometimes you need to communicate that with the individuals or groups that you think you're representing, to make sure it's done in a sensitive and in a appropriate way, and not in a way that will cause confusion, division, embarrassment, whatever it is. So I hope that makes sense. So please don't buy into all these arguments about the welcome to country and the acknowledgement to country, and if it's appropriate or not. Because, once you learn about it and you understand it, then you don't have any issue with it, that it's okay, And so I hope this little quick discussion helped. Please, like I said, do your research. If you found this interesting or if you found this helpful, please subscribe. Please share it with your family and friends. And remember to see things 2 see, not see it through your lens, but see it through the lens of someone else. And don't sit by idly and let this sort of stuff, the negative stuff, influence, whatever situation you're in. That if people have an issue with it, drum with it, take the time and have the courage to say, well, hang on, I think, I'm not here to argue with you, but, we need to understand a little bit more about what that is and what it is, and don't believe everything you see or hear or read. Go to the people themselves and find out what, this means and what that means and the significance of it. And, you'll have a different opinion about it. So Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it interesting. And don't forget to do something nice for someone, even if it's sitting down, having a yarn to somebody. I don't know how many years ago now, but we moved back up to Queensland from the ACT, and I found something that I love about the Queensland population and the Queenslanders is that you can sit down next to someone in a shopping centre here in Queensland, and they don't care what sort of your background is or anything like that, and you can find out their whole history, the whole family history, their whole working life history in 5 minutes, because they'll share that information with you as Queenslanders. You know, it's, how you going, mate? And then they'll ask you a bit about yourself, and then they'll share a bit about themselves, and you find out all this information from a total stranger. And it's just the Queensland, it's just what we do, it's just how we are, is that, you know, we like to know what other people are doing and who they are, where they're from, what they're about. And often, you know, when there's conversations with me and some old fella waiting for his elderly wife to come out of Woolies, and we'll spark up a conversation, make a little bit of joke about waiting for our wives and so on, and then the conversation starts, and they'll ask, "Oh, so what's your background, mate? Or where are you from? Are you from here? Are you from this town?" "Oh, no, we live in whatever." And then, "Well, I remember I work with this bloke and that bloke, and I worked in this industry for how many years," and then they just tell their whole life story. And it's nice because these living libraries need to be heard. These stories need to be told. You know, I've had people that have asked me about things, about Welcome to Country, just sitting there, you know, we're having that conversation, talking about it, because, "Oh, while you're here, what's going on with these bloody people that want to talk about the Welcome to Country and stop the Welcome? What's that all about?" And we have a conversation about it. So, you know, be strong, be smart, stay happy. You know, we're all in this together, and we've got to do the best we can with what we've got. And hopefully, you know, we at some stage, we can turn the corner and realise that we're all on the same bus here, and we start all heading in the same direction, instead of splitting off at the roundabout. So take care, stay safe, be happy, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Okay, bye.